Oh, good afternoon, everyone. It is so nice to see so many of you this afternoon. I couldn't be more thrilled. We have a lot to go over, and I'm sure everyone's really excited to hear about our updates this year, genealogy, everything that Jason's been working on. And I'll pass it back over to Jason so we can get started.
This is my second annual, it's not inaugural, second annual genealogy talk. And this year's topic is Wyckoff Genealogy 2025, digging into the data. With that, let me go ahead and share my screen, and we're going to get started. All right. Everyone can see the QR code in the slides?
Yep.
All right. Excellent. All right. Ready to go. Let's see. So today we're going to be talking about four different things, by four different kind of mini topics. First, a little previously on Wyckoff genealogy talks. Give a brief recap, super brief, for some of you who are newer to Wyckoff genealogy, to kind of at least lay some fundamentals down. Then we'll kind of dive into just the facts, ma'am. Then topic of keeping track of who's who in the zoo, as I like to say it. And then lastly, about joining the zoo. And there's going to be four key takeaways that I want everyone to hopefully take away after this call. Won't share what they are, but just letting you know there's four things that by the end of this, hopefully, some of these have permeated and you're going to take them away. So with that, pop quiz. Now it's not going to be, we're going to do a little practice of these using the audience participation. So on your screen now, on your phone, there should be this question. Excellent. People are starting to put in, what's your favorite color? And yep, now we're kind of seeing everyone's different favorite color. Fantastic. Plaid. Oh, wow, that's a good one. I was going to put invisible, but let's see, what else? Come on. Give you guys a few more seconds to enter some stuff in here. We have 16 of the 22 of you that are in there. That's great. Let's see, it'd be great to see if we get everyone to at least answer. And all right, great. Well, excellent. Let me go to the next question. All right, now here's an actual question. What's the answer to the ultimate question of life, the universe, and everything? We're just practicing, right? Just about answering questions with the answer. Okay, good. And if you don't remember, always click that submit button. As I've done some practice, and I would answer a question, I would just click on it, and then I wouldn't hit submit, and then my answer wouldn't be submitted. So go ahead and make sure you click that submit button. All right. Well, we'll give it a couple more seconds here. All right, there is actually a correct answer to this. The answer is 42. Most of you did get that correct. That's actually from the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. So any sci-fi nerds out there, apparently the majority of you are sci-fi nerds, or at least aware that that was the right answer. So good for you on that. All right, you got used to doing using the interactive thing. So just briefly, let's talk a little bit about the Wyckoff family in America. So the Wyckoff family in America, or WFIA, you'll see that acronym a lot, is the official genealogical record of descendants of Peter Clausen and Gricha van Ness. And this history, this collection of everyone who are descendants of Peter and Gricha started in 1934. So almost like 91 some years ago, the first edition of the Wyckoff Family in America was published. Then in 1950, a second edition was published. A third edition was published and that was actually in 2 volumes at that point. And then that was the last printed, in 1980, that was the last printed edition at that point in time so far. Then starting in like 2004, there's a 4th edition, which was published as a GEDCOM file, or an electronic digital version of it. And that's really what's been happening and been published since then. And last year, about this time, I kind of brought back the brand of the Wyckoff Family in America and published the 2025 edition at the end of last year. So this is actually a snapshot of the different editions. You maybe have heard of some of you maybe have heard of the orange books. That's what these are. And you can see the size of the volumes get larger. There's 2 volumes in the 3rd edition as more and more of us are added to this great family tree. Now, that's if you want more, if you're new to Wyckoff genealogy, I really encourage you to watch last year's talk. We kind of go into a lot more detail. It's at wyckoffmuseum.org/genealogy, and you can watch that last year's call there on the video. All right, let's dive into some facts. But we're going to kind of do a pop quiz here. Let me go over here. All right. How many children did Peter Clausen and Gritja van Ness Wyckoff have? So how many children did Peter and Gritja have? We're in that 1st generation. All right, good. All right, we're getting about half of you have voted. Could be 3, 5, 7, 11, or 15. And if you want a hint, a lot of you already know this answer, so you kind of see that sticking up there right now. I'll give you a couple more seconds. All right, I got 15 of you voted. Yeah, the correct answer is 11. Peter and Gritja had 11 kids. And back then you had a lot of kids. That was just kind of a standard. So they had 11, which was really interesting. All right. Starting with Peter Clausen and Gritja van Ness, how many generations of Wyckoffs do we have in the Wyckoff family in America? Are there 8 generations, 10, 15, 20, 25? What do you think?
Oh.
Yeah. It's all right. If you don't know the answer, I mean, this is more about us learning, kind of, getting a sense of the data here.
My nephew just added another one last December, so it's one more than it was last year.
Okay, for your line, for sure, yeah. So the correct answer is that there's about 15 generations. I'm actually 13. It does go 15. I think there might be a 16, like one or so that's 16. But in general, there's about 15 generations that are listed in the Wyckoff family in America.
My brother and I just discussed it. I know I'm at 13.
You're 13, okay. And all right, how many total people do you think are in the Wyckoff family in America? So, starting from the 1600s, 1650 or so, when Peter and Gritja, how many total people do you think are in the Wyckoff family in America? Oh, we're getting a little bit kind of a split group here, and people answering on the Zoom. 2 million. Wow. All right. it's interesting. Kind of everyone's kind of sort of spread around of what they think the right answer is. The correct answer is that there's actually 65,000. There's about 40 some that are direct descendants and about 20 some that are what can I call partners or spouses. But yeah, right now there's about 65,000 total people in the database, which is still a lot to manage for sure. All right, I think this is the last question here in this group. How many different spellings of Wyckoff you think exist? At least, or that we're aware of, right? That we have a list of. 3, 5, 10, 20, 40, 60, or 80.
Oh, I hit the wrong button. I didn't mean 66. I meant 6.
Okay, no worries. 58, yeah, a lot of people, a lot of different answers. Well, surprisingly, the right answer is that there's about 60. And if we kind of go and look, here's just a sample list of all the different spellings. Now, and I can share this out later, but the next question that I would have is like, what is your family's line spelling? So yeah, there might be 60 different ones, but what different spellings is represented here? So are you a Wyckoff in the W-Y-C-K-O-F-F? Do you have an I in your name? Not just yours, but on your family line, right? There's a lot of folks who right now don't have last name of Wyckoff. Okay. Looks like a lot of the kind of I'll say maybe more traditional spellings. Good. So Wyckoff, C-K, W-Y-C-O-F-F, W-Y-K-O-F-F, Wyckoff, C-H-I-K. Yeah. So again, there's the QR code's in the way there. A lot of different spellings, and the reason why a lot of these spellings happen is due to the fact of sometimes people didn't know even how to spell it, or they told a census worker, hey, my name's Wyckoff, and they heard it wrong. They wrote it down differently. They thought it was a T, not an F at the end, or the I-J-C-K, right? It's just a lot of just human error that eventually kind of changed how the name's spelled. Someone else on the call, I think it's Howard's, who's on the call here. I think he said that, or someone I spoke with said that there's 2 different Wyckoff families in the same town, and the postal carrier said, like, one of you have to change how you spell your name so I know who it's going to go to. So it's really interesting to see like how names evolve and change. All right. So who's who in the zoo? And I want to talk, I'm going to kind of nerd out here a little bit, but I think it's going to pay off here at the end. I want to talk about descendant numbering and descendant numbering systems. So what is a descendant numbering system? Well, it is a method to organize and, to organize and label descendants of a common ancestor. For us, it's Peter Clausen and Rita Van Ness in a structured, readable format. It helps track generations, birth order, and relationships across a family tree. Now, if many of you maybe have seen the third edition of the Wyckoff Family in America, here's a page out of it. This is actually my father, his record. That number right there is a descendant number. And the way that it's calculated has to do with the generations and then the birth order of each family. So for my dad, Peter Clausen had, we said 11 kids. The first kid, Nicholas, had some kids, and the first kid of Nicholas had some kids, and the first kid of those kids had some kids. The second child of that litter had a bunch of kids. The fifth child had some kids, and so on and so on. So that 111 is the 111. 252 is the 252, and so on. Oh, shoot. Sorry. Oh, man. I want to go there. Sorry about that. You practice. And the comma is there for every 3 generations for readability. So you can look at that number on top of my dad's number there, and you can see that he's the 11th generation. So you got 3, 3, 3 is 9, and then 2 more is 11. He is an 11th generation person. So that is a descendant numbering system and a descendant number. Now, here's a question for you. True or false? A person's descendant number, that number that we just kind of showed there, will never change. It's always going to be the same. Period, full stop. Now I'm going to kind of an even mix. People saying false and true in the chat as well. Well, I'll give it just another few seconds. True, true, false, false. Yeah, kind of an even spread. Well, the correct answer is false. A person's descendant number can change. Now, let's see. There we go. Well, how could a descendant number change? There's 2 reasons. And the first one is really kind of the main driver. New birth dates are discovered or corrected, changing a birth order. Sometimes also, surprise, a new sibling is found, right? That in the data that we have is only as accurate as the data that we're given. And maybe a long lost great-great-great-great-grandfather really had 4 kids instead of 3. And we didn't have that extra child. So as an example, Mary's number is 112243, and Mary has 3 kids. Anna, who was born in 1932, Bob, 1934, and Charles, who either wasn't born ever or we don't have the number. Yeah, we don't have his birthday, and that happens a lot. There's a lot of people that are missing birthdays. Well, when we calculate the descendant number, you have to come up with some order, and the people without a birth date are at the end. So now Anna's number ends in 1, Bob's ends in 2, and Charles's ends in 3. So we publish that. Let's say that was in the 3rd edition, and everyone kind of think that is fact, that is gospel and true. But then later on, we find out that Charles actually was born in 1829, 3 years before Anna. So these numbers are wrong, and now the birth order swaps around. And Charles is really the first kid, and then Anna, and then Bob. So Charles's new number is 11224331. Anna's ends in 2, and Bob ends in 3.
Hey, Jason, we have a
Yeah.
question, a really good question in the chat. Jim is asking, how does it work when a descendant's birth is when there's more than 9 children? So there's like 10, 12 children or something.
Yeah, great question. There are two, there's a couple different ways they're done. In the third edition, they put a period and then the ones digit there. So if it was the 11th child, in there'd be a dot and then a 1. If right now, if we were to recalculate them right now, what we've decided to do is that we're going to put in letters. So A would be 10, B would be 11, C would be 12, and so forth. So they're just not going to be numbers. That's only if, right, if it is that 10th or later child. But yeah, great question. So, all right, what does that mean for me, right? Well, the further up the line that happens, the more of this impacts, right? If we were just kind of looking at the children of Anna or whoever that was up there, but then their kids and their their kids and the great grandkids and so forth, all the way down there, now there's going to be a different number for everyone. And if we were to calculate everyone's descendant number today, it will be, almost everyone's number will be different compared to the last print edition. So, key takeaway number 1, descendant numbers can change. Okay, they can change when birth dates are updated or added, or siblings are added or updated. Now, my dad's number was 111-252-12331. As I calculate it now, it's 111-284-12351. And there's 3, so in the 5th generation, the order swapped around. In the 6th generation, I changed there. And then even his grandfather, my great-grandfather, that order changed. So it not only can change once, one place, but it could be a couple different places along the line depending on the order. Consanguineous marriages. I had to look up the term for what we're going to be talking about here, and I actually had to look up how to pronounce it. Consanguineous marriages. Does anyone know what that even means? I'm kind of curious.
Common law?
No. Cousins marrying cousins.
Mm.
Now, we're not talking, I was going to use the term kissing cousins, but that's more about first generation or second generation. Consanguineous marriages is really any cousin, right? High up the line. Now, why am I talking about this? Well, let's just kind of walk through a quick example. So you have Peter and Grisha. And let's just pretend that they only have 3 kids. And each of them have 3 kids. And then they have some kids. Let's just kind of follow a particular line. And they have some kids. And the first kid over here marries someone, outside the family, outside the cousin line. But these 2 cousins marry. That's cousins marrying cousins. Now, if we go back all the way in time, we're all cousins, right? Like not just people on the call, not just Wyckoffs, right? But we have as Wyckoffs, we have a unique collection of data that goes back 15 some generations to the 1600s. So we see a lot more of this. But if you go back even further, right? I mean, we're all probably come from the same descendants. So it's not a weird thing. It's just it happens, right? But we just see it a little bit more, and it impacts us as Wyckoffs when it comes to these descendant numbers. So pop quiz here. I actually had to look up this. This is really interesting. How many cousin marriages do you think are actually in the Wyckoff family in America? So how many of everyone who's married, or at least spouses, partners, how many ones have married a cousin? Again, seventh cousin, twice removed, but they're a cousin nonetheless.
In the whole family? All the descendants?
Of all the descendants, of everyone in the database, how many people, it's actual marriages, right? So, this, whatever number here times 2 is the total people, but how many marriages are there where one person one Wyckoff descendant married another Wyckoff descendant? Well, you guys were really, you guys are spot on, both here in the poll and in Zoom. The answer is 96, which it's about 20,000 total partnerships, marriages, spouses in the database, and 96 was a pretty small number, but I was kind of shocked, actually. I thought it'd be like 5, or, small, single digit, but 96 was really interesting to me. All right, so how many Wyckoffs descend from a cousin marriage? So, of those people, how many, it's not just whose mom and dad is were cousins, but their grandkids, great-grandkids, the grandkids, great-grandkids, everyone down. How many of us, what percentage do you think actually descend from a cousin marriage? Okay, we got 10 and 25%, got 20 and 25, 40. Okay, a lot of, give you guys just a couple more minutes to answer. Love to kind of get your thoughts on it. 25, okay. Well, the correct answer is 25. 25% of us descend from at least one cousin marriage. Now, there's a reason why I'm talking through this. So let's go back to the descendant numbering system. And over here on the left, the numbers 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. This person's number, part of this is 1, 1, 1, 2. And then the third child has 3 children. That third child has a kid. And then that person's number is 3311. So the question kind of is back now is true or false? A person has one and only one descendant number. So true or false? A person has one and only one. So if you think they have only one, it's true. If you think they have more than one, it's false. You guys are getting really, you're picking up what I'm putting down here. And you see where all this is going. They're right. The answer is false. That they have 2 numbers. 11121 and 33111. Now, of that 25% that we talked about, the majority of us, and I'm actually one of them, have 2 numbers. Some of us have 3 or 4. I think there might be someone who has 5. I'm not sure, but of that 25%, it's usually just 2 numbers. But this family tree can kind of go out and in and back out and back in, and if that happens, right, then you're going to have more, 3 or 4 numbers because you have the different lines that you come from. So the key takeaway here is that you can have 2 or more descendant numbers. So you can have 2 or more due to cousin marriages in your family line. All right. So this is more than just academic and all. I mean, if a person's descendant number can change, so those evolve, and you can have multiple descendant numbers, how can we clearly identify who's who in the zoo? A lot of us would kind of say, well, I did it as well. I'd be like, I'm, 1112, like that number is something that you clearly identified with. Well, how do we do that? Well, I'm introducing what I'm calling the Wyckoff ID. When I actually talked my daughter kind of this presentation through, and she's like, why didn't you call it the YD? Like ID, YD. And I was like, that's pretty good actually, but probably hard to explain. But the Wyckoff ID is going to looks like this. It's a permanent, never changing, unique ID. It has a Y prefix and then a 4-character alphanumeric random number. Everyone will have their own permanent, never changing, unique Wyckoff ID, regardless of their birth order. Let me say that again. Everyone will have their own permanent, never changing, unique Wyckoff ID, regardless of their family birth order. If any of you have done FamilySearch.org and have gone through there, they have something kind of similar. They have I think 8-character alphanumeric thing, but that primary key, that unique ID, they kind of do the same thing. Ours is smaller. We don't have millions of people that we're dealing with. So it's a 4-character alphanumeric that I auto assign and make sure it is 100% always going to be unique and will never change from any publication to another publication. So why does this matter? I know I talk with a lot of you. They're like, hey, my grandfather's John Wyckoff. Right. Okay, there's a lot of John Wyckoffs out there, right? Born in 1925. All right, that narrows it down. But married Jane Wyckoff. Okay, maybe probably have 2 or 3 Johns that married a Jane. Was born in it's hard to clearly identify who they are, or maybe you said my grandfather is John Wyckoff, and the descendant number that was in that 3rd edition, that 1980 edition of the Wyckoff Family America was 124, 234, blah blah blah. Now that number has changed. So hopefully now we can talk amongst ourselves and kind of say hey, my grandfather's John Wyckoff, Wyckoff ID WYT9D7, and even if we don't have birth dates, we don't have another kind of lot of stuff about them, at least there's something we can hang on to that we know that this is, my grandfather. And if I'm talking to someone else, we clearly can, we're talking the same language. We're talking about the same person. The Wyckoff ID will be in all future Wyckoff in America publications. It's already in last year's edition, the 2025 edition. And 1 or 2 of you actually have, I was tickled. I didn't tell anyone about it. And then someone came hey, I have some updates. And they're like, yeah, my great-great-grandfather is Wyckoff ID, blah, 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 blah. And I was like, all right. It's birth dates. We don't have another kind of lot of stuff about them. At least there's something we can hang on to that we know that this is, my grandfather. And if I'm talking to someone else, we clearly can, we're talking the same language. We're talking about the same person. The Wyckoff ID will be in all future Wyckoff in America publications. It's already in last year's edition, the 2025 edition. And 1 or 2 of you actually have, I was tickled. I didn't tell anyone about it. And then someone came hey, I have some updates. And they're like, yeah, my great-great-grandfather is Wyckoff ID, blah, 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 blah. And I was like, all right. It's so much easier to kind of find, start that conversation where we zero in, where we know exactly who we're talking about. But it's going to be in all future editions of that. So If you bought the 2025 edition, that's in there. If you buy the next 2026 edition, which will come out at the end of this year, it'll be in there. Again, that will never change. It's a permanent, never changing, unique ID. All right. So if we were to publish the book again, it might look a little something like this, where we're kind of clearly identifying who's who in the zoo, right? Here's the Wyckoff IDs for Kent and my mom Joan, and mine, I'm WYR2RFU. And then and my brother who's on the call here is WY2CQC. So that's what it would look like if we were to print a book again. So that third takeaway is Wyckoff IDs are permanent, never-changing IDs used to identify people in the Wyckoff family in America. All right. So last thing, join the zoo. So we already said there's about 65,000 people in the Wyckoff family in America. So based on conservative estimates, how many Wyckoffs do you think should be in the Wyckoff family in America? 80,000, 100,000, 200, over 500,000. So again, there's 65,000 in there now. We're talking 15 generations, at least 12 or 13 are probably fully kind of fleshed out. How many people should we have listed in our family tree? Some people are, yeah, it's a little split. A lot of people think around 200,000. Okay. We got a couple 500 votes here in the chat.
I know my line is way out of date. I don't think it's been, I think my grandfather or great grandfather was in the very first edition back in the 30s.
Okay.
And I don't think we've submitted any updates from my family, from my immediate family since then. So you're missing at least 8 people there. So 8 or 10.
Well, Anne, you are my plant in the audience. The answer is well over 500,000. We are missing a lot of folks.
I'm
So
also
right now,
wondering where there's a lot of where there's infant mortality. Are those births are also counted? For
yeah,
instance, my great grandfather had a son and a daughter who died before the age of 5, 3 that survived, and then another one. 3 that survived? 2 more that survived, and then one that died. I don't know if it was an infancy or young.
if they were born to a Wyckoff, they should be listed and counted.
Okay.
And
There
we
would be
also count,
6, of which only 3 survived to adulthood.
right, but there were, whatever, 6, however many kids, right? It was more than 3, right? So, yes, even if someone dies young or dies, a child, that if they were person,
Birth was reported, then they count.
Yep. And we also count adoptions too. A lot of people are like, well, I adopted a kid, yeah, no, we consider adoptions, they're a Wyckoff. And so, as I told you, there's about 65,000 total in the database right now, about 44,000 actual descendants, about 21,000 partners or spouses, and conservative estimate should be about 620,000 descendants. So we're missing about 575,000 descendants and hundreds of thousands of partners. So, I mean, there is a lot of people we don't have. So what's the key takeaway? And submit your family updates to be included in the Wyckoff family in America. So how do you add or update your family to the Wyckoff family in America? We'll start the submission process by visiting wyckoffmuseum.org/genealogy. There's a form. It'll take you to a place where you kind of answer some questions. It's over the year or 2 that I've been doing this. It's like everyone I'm trying to standardize. I'm trying to keep track of it. Some of you I might have dropped the ball on. I'm going to try to get back to it, but I'm trying to make sure I don't drop any balls and that there's a clear way that I'm capturing it all. And some of you have just a few people to add. Some of you have a much bigger line. Actually, Tim on the call here, I'm working with him. He's been adding 50 or 80 because he's not adding just the direct line there, but even like aunts and uncles and other things. So it kind of runs the gamut. But start the conversation with me by going wyckoffmuseum.org/genealogy and away we go. Yeah, there's a question of like, can I see if you got all my updates? Yeah, absolutely. If I need to run a report to kind of say, because one thing to say, there's someone that needs to be added, and right? You're like, hey, there are people that I need to add, and probably you need to add some deaths and other things and marriages or whatnot. But sometimes you don't know, like, is what we have actually correct? So I'm happy if you kind of said, hey, I want to see, like, I think we're missing some stuff, but I just want to know what is missing.
I added my granddaughter, which who I was holding earlier. So I added my granddaughter who was born in May, and I think that's all my updates. And then when do I get that book or see that book, or do I check before the book is published, or how does that work?
Yeah, well, so again, right now we are still just doing the digital edition. The 2026 digital edition will come out end of this year. I'm gonna say get all your submissions in by the 15th. By that I mean it's gonna start the conversation with me. And I'm gonna try to get it all in and then publish there at the end of towards the end of the calendar year for the to publish the 2026 edition. So, and if there's a question, if you're like, hey, I don't know about this, whatever, follow up, and we can make sure that everything's in there.
Jason, did you see the question? And I see you looking over there. There's a question in the chat. Is there concern that scammers, fraudsters will abuse the published personal data of living descendants?
Yeah, great question. So in the digital edition, we do not publish any birth dates or anything like that. We publish the name, but it'll just say living. I really do encourage you to give me the information, because hundreds of years from now, when we're all gone, at least kind of knowing that you were here and your birth date is this, then the future family can now insert our death dates. So we do not publish in the electronic version any of living people's information, the birth date, that type of stuff. Once they've passed, then that will be included in the digital edition. But I do ask you to at least give it to me, to give it so, again, hundreds of years from now, when we finally all of us are gone, there's at least some record of we know of when Jason was born, right? Or when you were born and where. There's another question. How can we find out where to start our family? I do not currently have a book. That's a great question as well. What I ask in the form is like, at least give me your parents' info, great grandparents' info, great grandparents, and I then kind of go up and I try to find who is the most recent person on your family line in there. So if you gave me your great grandparents' stuff and they're the last ones and I found them, I'll say, oh great, here we go, we got them, or we have your parents or whatnot. So it's a conversation where we kind of zero in. Some of you don't, like you, Karen, don't have a book. You have no clue. Some of you know exactly, like, yeah, I'm in there, my mom's in there, but I got a bunch of grandkids now. So we try to figure out who is that one person, and then it's about adding the people below, and then about provide any updates for people above, right? Have your parents passed? Have there been any divorces? That type of stuff. And what is the so anyway, I'll answer a few more of those questions here as we're running towards the end, and actually a pretty good time. I'll definitely get to more of those questions.
Okay.
So start by visiting wyckoffmuseum.org/genealogy. Submit it by November 15th. Start that conversation, right? And I will work with you to make sure everything is in there before we do the publication of the digital edition 2026. So, key takeaways. Descendant numbers can change. All right, we talked about that. You can have 2 or more descendants. Wyckoff ID is a new permanent, never-changing ID to identify who's who in the zoo in the Wyckoff family in America. And really encourage you to submit updates to be included in the Wyckoff family in America. Last question, and then we'll go to
Yeah, we're getting stacked up on questions in the chat. So,
Yep. Last question. True or false? I learned at least one new thing today.
good question.
Good. Well, hopefully it's at least one. And yeah, I really do appreciate. Glad you guys paid attention and came along with it. I definitely nerded out with you here for a bit, but hopefully the payoff was worth it here towards the end. So I am going to stop the share. I'm going to answer some of the questions here in the chat, and then
There you go. So, Jason, how can we find out where to start with our family? I do not currently have a book. And then adding on to that, same person, and what is it you want? Date of birth, place of birth, DOD, date of death, I guess.
Yep. So again, as a reminder, when you submit, can I ask you to at least provide some kind of free form, like who your parents, who their grandparents, who their great grandparents, and I try to find in the database, try to match. Okay, here it's your great grandfather or great grandmother was the last one in the line, or is it your grandparents or your parents, or maybe we need to go up a little bit further. So it's a little bit of a dialogue back and forth.
Okay, yeah. So when he says where does he start, he should just Karen, should just start with what she knows. Share with you in the form like what she knows, and then you're going to play detective a little bit.
Yep. Parents, grandparents, great grandparents. I think that's all I asked for. But the form hopefully is relatively explanatory. The kind of asking some of that. And there'll be a back and forth and I'm using like a ticketing system to track that. And yeah, we're looking for date of birth, date of death, places for those, marriages, date and location, divorces if you have them, and just that, and the names.
Okay. Important. You just kind of smoothly went by something that might be important for people to understand. You're using a ticketing system, which means you have several requests happening at one time, and you need to keep track of, because I know there's multiple Doug Wyckoffs and there's multiple Barbara Wyckoffs, and so can you talk a little bit about that?
Yes. So when you go to Wyckoff Genealogy, wyckoffmuseum.org/genealogy, there's a button about submitting it. You're brought over to a ticketing, a website where you're going to fill out a form, and then there's a ticket, for lack of a better term. You'll get an email. Everything, all of our conversation back and forth will be tracked. And then I have a list then of everyone who I'm talking to, right? And are we done? Am I done with them? Is the ball in their court because they need to get me something? Is the ball in my court? So at least I know I have 10 open requests. 7 of them, you guys are doing homework. You're figuring stuff out. 3 of them, you gave me stuff, and I need to add stuff in and maybe come back with some questions. But using that ticketing system helps you keep track of it. It's all, searching for the name Wyckoff in my email is really hard. And so that this is an easy way to organize and make sure I don't drop the ball, and allows me to follow up with you and kind of ping you and go, it's been a month or so. How are you doing with your updates?
Yeah. Yeah. All right. And I think you said this, but just again, how do we get a digital copy? And when will the hard copy book be published? And how do we get that?
Yeah, great question. So the digital copy is going to, once again, you can go to wyckoffmuseum.org/genealogy. You can right now buy this year's copy. What we published at the end of last year, the 2025 edition. We'll make an announcement when the 2026 edition is going out there. But if there's one link for you to save, it's wyckoffmuseum.org/genealogy. And Lisa, if you can put that in the chat and make sure that people have that. But you can also just visit wyckoffmuseum.org and then family, and then you can see go from there. So when in doubt, go to wyckoffmuseum.org/genealogy. As far as a book, there's no book yet. We're entertaining the idea of publishing a book, but there's no book, nothing on the official horizon yet. But that's something that we are looking into. The question is, Charlotte said, can we view a current tree on a website? No, unfortunately. You can buy the electronic copy, which is going to be a GEDCOM file, which is the kind of standard way of exporting family trees. And then you can take that and import it into some genealogy software. You can import it into Ancestry.com and have your own little private tree. And there's free versions of software out there. You don't have to pay for it. But what we deliver when you purchase the digital edition is that GEDCOM file that you can then take and put in whatever tool you want to use to be able to see it. Is there the question of a DNA database? Not yet. I'd love to tackle that topic.
And but we do have one cousin who has spent a lot of time researching through his DNA.
Yes, but there's not like a authoritative source or anything that says here's the official DNA family tree or anything like that.
I know Jason and I have talked about that, and we're super interested in it.
Question is, how do you assign the new numbers? What do these sign codes mean? They mean nothing. They're just think of them like they're like a social security number, right? There's no meaning behind the number that you have. It's just a number, and so I have a little software that auto generates a new one and makes sure that that new one that it's generated is not already assigned to another person in the database. So it's just auto-generated, and there's no meaning behind it. My first ancestor married Peter, blah, 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 so my connection to Wyckoff, they had a bunch of kids who were related to Wyckoffs. Do you want forms on those lines as well, Jason? I did my direct line last year. I'll see if I can answer that question. I think what you're kind of saying is like, there's one thing about you providing information about your line, right? Straight up, right? Who are my parents, and down, right? My kids and my grandkids. That's minimally what we're looking for. If you have information on your siblings, your nieces and nephews, or other folks that are of the Wyckoff line, I definitely welcome to have that as well. I don't turn that away, but we don't track any other families. The parents of your if you're the Wyckoff, right, of your spouse, or your sister-in-law's kids or anything like that, right? We only kind of keep track of folks who are descendants and partners, spouses of Peter and Gretchen. Last spelling we had was from the 1900 census. How do we find if there's an update in information to more recent census? Great question. I don't know. Short answer. I'd love to maybe get a more authoritative kind of publication saying this is the official list of all derivations of Wyckoff. But I don't know if you can do that too, because something might be a variant, might look like a variant, but maybe they really aren't a Wyckoff. A descendant of Peter and Gretchen. Let's see. In the 1983 book, it's mentioned that the published records would stop after the grandchildren of Wyckoff named cousins. Do you want all the new? That seems like what you like to get. I don't know, Paul, about this. You know about stopping grandchildren or anything like that. We want anyone who's a descendant, or partner, spouse of Peter and Gretchen, Wyckoff. So if they're a descendant, love to have them in the tree. What's the cost of the digital file? That's been addressed there. What does the new number indicate? I think I answered that. If we're talking about the Wyckoff ID, it doesn't mean anything. It's just, it's yours. Looks like there might be an error at that website. I'm not sure. Wyckoff Family is really blessed to have. Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. And I cannot seem to ask a question. Okay. All right. I think I went through everything there.
The question there, Jason, is what does the new number mean? Like, how did you get to the alphabets and alphabet letters and the numbers?
It is completely random. You cannot derive meaning from it. Your social security number, your driver's license number, right? You can't look at it and go, oh, well, that's the sibling of this person or the grandkid of that, or it's male or female or anything like that. It's just a unique ID. Though if there were to be a print edition, we will include descendant numbers, so you can kind of walk through a book and kind of go up and down to find your parent and grandparent, or go up and down. But the primary key, right, who you are, like your social security number is only yours right now. That Wyckoff ID is yours forever. What other questions do you have? We're at time, but is there anything else you guys had? Wow. I think your brains are probably full. I know I've dumped a lot at you, but I really appreciate everyone attending. And if you have any questions, feel free to email me at genealogy@wyckoffmuseum.org. Or again, check out the Wyckoff Museum website /genealogy to buy the next edition, to begin to submit a request and that.
Well, Jason, thank you. Wesley Johnston in this chat pointed out that we are very blessed to have you in the family as our genealogist. So you're doing a great job. Applause, applause, applause. This is a lot of work. It's very complicated and complex, and it hurts my brain to think about it.
Thank you, Jason.
Glad you're thinking about it.
Great
job.
As you see, I have fun with it. So it is not work. It's really interesting. And hopefully my enthusiasm for it is, rubs off, and you'll get more interest in it, and help build this out and make it a more robust, exhaustive, authoritative source.
Well, thank you so much. Really, it's a lot of work. Anne, we see your granddaughter there, the next coming generations of Wyckoffs. Beautiful grandbaby. Next month, so November, we are having a conversation with the Wyckoff cousins about Dutch food, some authentic Dutch recipes, some Wyckoff recipes from years, decades, maybe even 100 years ago almost. I think there's some. And come with your recipes, come with your family heirloom recipes. What did your great grandmother Wyckoff make? we'd love to hear all about it. So that's next month in November. And then in December, super excited about this. We have another author talk. If you were with us last December, we had the author of Catalanja Trico with us in December. And I am blanking on her name right now, but in this December, we have the author of Salt People of the Cloud Houses, which is what the Lenape people called the folks who came on these ships with these white sails, Salt People of the Cloud Houses. And the name of that author is Fawn Brokaw Doyle. I hope I got that right. I think so, but that's in December. So those are the ones coming up. I don't know, Jason, if there are more questions, you have a couple minutes to stay on the line.
Yeah. So we're officially done. I'm happy to answer any other questions until I like this stuff, right? So I'm happy to talk as long as you guys want to talk. But if you need to drop off, thank you for attending. This will be posted up on YouTube and available. So share it with your family members, share it with your kids, grandkids, get them interested in this because, you know, we are a rare breed to be able to have a connection to
Yes.
1600 America, the oldest building in New York State, right? And so
Yes.
we
Yeah.
should be able to talk about that, share it, and get them excited about it as well. So
Yeah.
that said, thank you everyone, and if you have questions, I'm happy to stay on.
Thank you so much, everyone. Just final reminders. We'll say November 15th to get your submissions in or reach out to Jason, start a conversation, and keep an eye out for emails announcing the 2026 edition when it's live to be purchased, or just check out our website, wyckoffmuseum.org/genealogy or cousins for all of your updates. Okay. And we will see you all here next month talking about your family recipes. Have a great night, everyone. Thank you.